Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm ForClassic and welcome to BenchART. So for today what I do have in here is Pro Evolution Soccer 2021, a game developed by Pro Evolution Soccer Productions, and they are using the Fox engine, which is the same engine behind all the recent Pro Evolution Soccer games and also Metal Gear Solid. So as you can see, this is the settings that I'm currently using on my GTX 1650 Super, so I'm just using the maximum settings 1080p because I want to have the perfect smooth 60 frames per second with no drops whatsoever. So the question is, did I get that? Well, let's start first with the requirements. So these guys recommend a GTX 760 and an FX CPU and 8 gigs of RAM. So looking to these requirements, we are above in everything, above on the CPU, above on RAM, and above on GPU. And they say this is for what? Additional note resolution 720p. I really don't understand these requirements, but let's go ahead. So I decided to test this game with 4 different settings. So let's start with 1080p. With 1080p, most of the game was running above 120 frames per second, and during replays, the replays could run above 60 frames per second. Alright, so that's good. Aside from the first moment where you do start the game, you have an overview over the stadium and the city. That's where the game did drop below 60 frames per second to 55. So I do recommend to play at 1080p if you want a perfect 60 frames per second experience, whatever on the replays or during gameplay. So 1440p. The difference between median and high, it is pretty small. So the average on median settings and the average on the high settings, it's just a difference of 10 frames per second, with the 1% level being a very small difference. So what happens really is that during gameplay, whatever if you go with the high settings or whatever if you go with the median, the high settings, it's the maximum on this game. The performance, it is above 60 frames per second during the gameplay, but during the replays you can expect your performance to be somewhat between 30 to 60. As for 4K, just forget about it, because 4K runs slightly above 30 frames per second, but all the replays and cutscenes and all that kind of stuff, it will run lower than 30 frames per second. But when I do say lower, I really mean something like 20 frames per second or 24. So I don't consider 4K playable in here. I'm just going to say that 1080p, it is absolutely perfect. You will get 60 frames per second no matter what, aside from that stadium overview. And 1440p, whatever if you go with high or median settings, your experience will be above 60 frames per second during gameplay, and only cutscenes lags below the 60. But that, it is how FIFA works, for example. So that's all about the performance of Pro Evolution Soccer 2021. But now what I do really care about this game, it is to talk about something really great that did happen this year. So despite Konami provide me the copy for this game, this is quite unusual. But thank you, honestly. Despite they provided me the copy, I don't care if I'm going to say bad things or good things. I have nothing to lose, in my opinion. But honestly, what I really want to tell about it is that Konami did something great this year, and they kind of releases not a new game, but an update. Alright, and that's the good thing about it, because every year, every people knows this. Every year there is a new FIFA. Every year there is a new Pro Evolution Soccer. And the improvements they make each year, they are actually very small. Yes, they change the menus, they put a new background music there, a ton of them, like 20 musics, they license tons of musics, they spend tons of money on licensing musics, changing the menus, and updating the faces and the hairstyles of the players, as well as where they are now. So they update all this kind of stuff, and they make slight changes to the gameplay, so they barely improve each year every game. And all of this for the price of a new game. So every year people are buying their sports games for 60 bucks, containing nothing more, nothing less than small improvements and updated stuff. So what Konami did this year, and I think that this is excellent, and all games should start to do this, it is Pro Evolution Soccer 2020 was released last year, and instead of Konami decided to release a new game like it did happen all the time before, they decided to release kind of a standalone DLC. So what happens really is that if you are the owner of Pro Evolution Soccer 2020, you can buy Pro Evolution Soccer 2021 by the price of something like 23 euros on Steam, which is completely cheap. And you might ask why it is so cheap. Because it is not a new game, it's an update. It's a paid update. It's like a DLC that you buy that contains revamped menus. Oh, awesome. No, not really, but okay. They contain the players fully updated. I think they even license new teams. I'm not really sure about this one, but yeah. So basically what they have done is that they clearly said to you that we don't have a new game, we just updated all the players, we updated the menu so that the things can keep fresh, and we have new teams over here because we managed to do some licensing, and that's it. That's what you get, but the price, it is very small. So I think this is a huge step in the right direction, in my opinion, because it is awesome. And also, if you are not the owner of if you are not an owner of the Pro Evolution Soccer 2020, but you want to buy Pro Evolution Soccer 2021, since I told you that this is some sort of DLC, you don't need to buy Pro Evolution Soccer 2020. You just need to buy Pro Evolution Soccer 2021, which will cost you 30 bucks, which is half of the price of a new game. So you might be asking why they are doing this. I mean, they could be gaining money anyway if they sold the copy at full price, because people continues to buy anyway. So the thing is, I do understand what Konami is trying to do. I'm not really sure how it is Konami fighting FIFA recently. I'm not really into sports games, but I always felt that FIFA had kind of an upper hand in licensing and probably more players than Pro Evolution. I'm not really so sure about this, so I'm just guessing that FIFA is probably doing better than Pro Evolution in sales, and Konami might want to try to pull some people into their game, and this is a very nice way of doing it, in my opinion, because it allows people to see, okay, so why I'm going to spend $60 each year when I can spend $60 in Pro Evolution Soccer and then buy updates by 23 euros, so it's much more cheap in comparison. Yeah, that's fine. That's one way to earn some new players into the game, because it's cheaper and it feels more honest, really, because FIFA will continue to release every year a new game, and every year the game will look the same anyway, or barely any new features, as you know. But I really think that the reason behind this, it is really because Konami wants to build a game that will be different. They want to distance themselves from this specific game, because a next generation is coming and they need to revamp tons of stuff for the next consoles, because, you know, this type of game sells more on consoles than on PC, so this is their main target. It is consoles. So PS5 and Xbox Series, they will be coming out with a much better hardware, and they need to upgrade their Fox engine, or they need to license any other engine, or they need to build a new engine. I don't know what the hell they are doing, but they are trying to get as much time as they can to create something great, I don't know, to at least have the time to create tons of features for their new game, so that can be something really flashy, you know. And I believe that's probably the reason, because doing this, they actually had 2 years to develop a new game, while FIFA, for example, they have 1 year to develop a new game. So having much more time, it will really help the development of Pro Evolution. It doesn't mean that the game is going to be great or better than FIFA or anything like it. It's not that I'm trying to say, but one thing it is for sure, Konami will have much more time to spare to evolve their game for the next generation than FIFA does. Alright, so that's just my opinion about it. I'm just very happy to see that at least they were honest this time around. They sold you an update for Pro Evolution 2020, which is exactly what I feel that every sports game does every year, but instead of they say that it is an update, it is a full new game for 60 bucks. So I'm very happy that Konami have done this. I'm not really sure if they are going to repeat this next year or not. I'm not really sure. We will see how industry goes, but I really enjoyed this move from Konami. And again, thank you a lot for the key. Alright guys, I think that's all that I want to talk about Pro Evolution Soccer 2021, which is exactly the same game as Pro Evolution 2020. The performance it is the same, alright? It's just they updated the game, and I think it was important to talk about it. Alright guys, again, thank you a lot for watching, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
And it's played forward. Granit Xhaka. And it's Aubameyang. Aubameyang spreads it towards the left. Tries a shot! He has done it! The second half off to a spectacular start. His position was perfect, the invitation was there for him, and his response absolutely clinical.
It's rarely a problem when that much time is afforded in the penalty box. Nobody sensed where the danger was lurking, and the finish was made a lot easier.
This is threatening to become a really good game.
Scoring early in this half just takes the pressure off now and allows them a chance to be a bit more patient in trying to level things up.
And here's Messi. A real chance to break. Aubameyang. He's picked him out. Nketiah. Arsenal are keeping their men at arm's length here.
Yeah, I just think it's a conservative move to deny runners the opportunity of going beyond that rear guard.
Pings it out wide. Coutinho. Philippe Coutinho! There was plenty of power on that. Hector Bellerin. Gets the better of his man. Now it's Willian. Hoists it forward. Towering header! Oh, just couldn't turn it in.
Well, being able to generate that amount of activity in the box means it's hard not to pick someone out.
Arsenal have turned to their bench, and we're going to have a substitution. Great strength, too strong for his opponent. Now the counter. It's a good run down the left-hand side. And it's Coutinho. And that has been clubbed away.
Well, this is exactly the approach they have to take now, Peter.
Well, hit and hope is just about the sum of it, isn't it, Jim?
Just has to be done.
Griezmann. Now it's Philippe. And Coutinho! And yes, it's there! And that should do it! Within sight of the finish line.
Looking back at that, that's how you play on the counter. Quick and decisive and ruthless with the finish. I thought it was a stunning, stunning breakaway.
Arsenal can make their change now with a break and play. Well, that has changed the dynamic somewhat. Plays it over to the other flank. Willock. Over to the left. And it's Messi. Good ball. Going through. Has a hit! And that would have been game, set and match.
He'll be fuming with himself for not converting. He could have killed it off.
Tries to get it forward quickly. Messi. Now it's Lacazette. Piqué battles to win it back. Forward it goes. Coutinho plays it out to the wing. And it's Coutinho. Is there any support? He might not need it. Ceballos plays it forward. Could move up a gear here. So that's it. It is all over. A decent win via a very competent performance. Without doubt, they were the better side, and the result reflects as much. Your reflections then, Jim?
Barcelona were totally organised, disciplined and professional here throughout. They knew exactly what they were doing and duly assured.
So many thanks to Jim Beglin. That's all we have time for. Good evening to you.